Okay. Team that I am kind of partial to, Texas Tech Red Raiders, just because my high school, we were the Red Raiders. They did a little bit better this year than they did last year. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so in 2023 they were 7-6. This year they won one more game, so they finished at 8-5. Third year under Coach Joey McGuire, they finished unranked because at 8-5 you're not going to finish ranked. Um, but the season really started out with a glimpse of what this team would become as they went out. They needed overtime to defeat Abilene Christian, who's an FCS school, in the first game of the season, and they beat them 52-51. So if that says anything, they can score some points, but they're going to give up a lot of points too, and that's absolutely what this team was. They had a really, really high scoring offense. They finished fifth in the country in scoring, and that helped them rush out to a 5-1 start. That included a win over Arizona State, who ended up winning the conference. But that 5-1 start in those high scoring games couldn't cover up the fact that their defense was almost as ungodly bad as their offense was good. They were 122nd in the country in scoring defense, the worst defense in the Big 12, the worst passing defense in the entire country. Some of their games included losses to Baylor, 59-35, to TCU, 35-34, and 41-27 to Colorado. So in all those games, they put up plenty of points to win the game. They just couldn't stop anybody.
Carson Beck could have used a game against them.
Yeah, it would help. It would have helped get him a few more dollars from Miami.
Yeah, right. Sure. This is just a kind of a strange team. You know, you look at their record, like you said, they go to overtime against Abilene Christian, but then they turn around and beat Arizona State, who ends up winning the whole conference. That's it, and some of their they beat Iowa State. So they beat both teams that were in their conference championship.
Right.
But then they have some really weird losses. But most of their losses were to two decent teams. I mean, Baylor and TCU, not bad. Colorado, they're not terrible either. So, and the games were, well, that Baylor game, they did kind of get stomped a little bit. TCU was close. So, just a weird season for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
You know, you beat your conference championship teams and then lose to some randos.
Yeah.
Lost to Washington State. I mean, come on.
Yeah. They did have some stars on their team. Obviously, when you have a high-powered offense like that, that scored over 54 times this season, their real star was Taj Brooks, their running back. He rushed for 1,500 yards on the ground, and he did that while running behind a absolutely horrible offensive line. But their offensive line was really, really bad in pass protection and in rushing protection, and Taj Brooks was able to work around it and have a great season. Their quarterback, Baron Morton, had 3,300 yards passing, 27 touchdowns, and both of their top two receivers were absolute stars, Josh Kelly and Caleb Douglas. On defense, the defense was bad. They did have a bright spot on the team. While linebacker Jacob Rodriguez had 127 tackles and 5 sacks. So he was the leader of a bad defense. But this was like I said, this was a good year for a team. Just if they could have found any way to get some stops on defense, they'd have been a lot better because they could score with anybody in the country. 8-5 season improved the record from the year before. So for me, that was a pretty good year. I gave them a grade of a B. How about you, bro?
Yeah, so I actually was a little more optimistic on them. So since they did improve their record and they had 2 really solid wins and their losses to decent teams, I actually ended up giving them a B+.
So they went 8-5. They made a bowl game. They had a winning record. So that gives them a record grade of a B-. And in 2024, the Texas Tech Red Raiders get a final grade of a B from the Nitro Show.